They told you that the soul was a whisper, that it floated above you like a feather in a windless sky, untouched by grief, untouched by rage. But Jung said otherwise. He discovered something older, something wild, something not just divine, but divine and monstrous. Jung's soul was not merely a flame, it was a furnace, not merely a dove, it was also a dragon. And through his red book, particularly the Septem Sermones ad Mortuos, he gave us a forbidden gospel, an unholy scripture for those who dared to see that the soul was not pure but paradoxical. He begins not with comfort but with chaos. I bind the above with the below. I bind God and animal. Here lies the essence. The human is not whole because he is only good. He is whole because he contains and unites the opposites. You are not just a rational being. You are the fire and the form, the instinct and the insight, the beast and the bridge to the divine. Most people spend their lives amputating half of themselves. They amputate their anger, their lust, their selfishness, and bury it deep. But Jung saw this was a fatal mistake. Not a path to holiness, but to hell. Not to divinity, but to possession. Because what you bury does not die. It waits. It grows. It becomes your shadow. The soul, Jung realized, is not a ladder you climb. It's a spiral you descend. He wrote, "My soul, where did you go? Did you go to the animals?" He did not ask out of metaphor. He meant it. The soul flees the ego. It escapes the rigid bounds of intellectual pride. It cannot live in a house of mirrors where all you do is reflect back the parts of yourself you already approve of. So it retreats into the animal, into the deep unconscious, into instinct, dream, image, chaos. This is where it waits for you. Not in books, not in belief, but in blood and in image and in that deep knowing that arrives in the silence, after your ego gives up. Jung realized the descent was sacred, that going down into madness, into confusion, into paradox, was not a mistake. It was the path. A person who refuses the descent into their own chaos lives a split life. They wear masks. They try to be good, but their goodness is hollow, performative, because it's not born from integration. It's born from repression. And this is where Jung's psychology parts ways with modern self-help. Most of the world tells you, become better, be more light, more peaceful, more rational, more in control. But Jung says, no. First, meet your devil. First, find your chaos. First, descend into the very thing you're afraid of, because that's where your soul has gone. And without your soul, you're nothing but a mask. Jung warns us that not confronting our darkness doesn't make us innocent, it makes us weak. The truly dangerous man is not the one who's met his shadow, it's the one who denies it exists. Because what you deny controls you. What you repress returns. And so, we arrive at the terrifying figure Jung introduces us to, Abraxas, a being that contains both God and devil, light and dark, creation and destruction. He is the unity of all opposites, the god of paradox. Jung writes, Abraxas is the god whom it is difficult to know. His power is greatest because man does not see it. From the sun he draws the summum bonum, from the devil the infimum malum. But Abraxas is the god whom neither one knows, because he is the unity of all things. Abraxas is the being who forces you to confront what cannot be categorized. He is not worshipped, he is met, he is understood through experience. He is the shattering of duality. The truth that you are not just a sinner or a saint, not just weak or strong, not just wounded or powerful, but all of it simultaneously. To look into the face of Abraxas is to see your own wholeness reflected back at you, and it is terrifying, because it means you can no longer blame your darkness on others. You have to own it. The figure of Abraxas is not just a theological invention, it's a psychological necessity. Most people operate in binaries. They are either good people trying to do the right thing, or they're bad and know it. But both are illusions. The truth, Jung said, is more disturbing. You're both. You carry within you the entire spectrum of possibility. The man who never examines his inner tyrant may think he's virtuous, but he's dangerous. The woman who represses her capacity for rage may seem angelic, but her unacknowledged fury will burn through her relationships, silently and destructively. This is why Jung tells us that wholeness is more important than goodness. He wrote, "I'd rather be whole than good." Because goodness can be faked, but wholeness can't. Wholeness means you've stood in front of your inner madness and you've not run. You've shaken hands with your own capacity for betrayal, for lust, for manipulation, and instead of acting on it blindly, you integrated it. You owned it. That's what Jung's work in the Red Book teaches us. It's not a theology. It's not a philosophy. It's a roadmap to inner confrontation. This is why dreams, to Jung, were so vital. Dreams are not nonsense. They are messages from the deep psyche, symbolic instructions from the unconscious, where the soul speaks in image, not language. Jung believed that when society becomes too rational, too sanitized, too scientific, it kills the symbolic life. And when the symbolic life dies, the soul retreats. This is why so many modern people feel numb, disconnected. They've traded symbolic truth for literalism. They've killed myth in favor of fact. They've abandoned the soul's language. But in dreams, Abraxas still speaks, in visions, in archetypes, in the symbols that recur again and again. Snakes, suns, trees, blood, eggs, rivers, fire, stairs, wings. These are not random. These are ancient messages passed down through the collective unconscious, and they will find you if you're willing to look. Jung teaches that the soul is not linear, it is cyclical. He saw this echoed in ancient traditions, the Ouroboros, the serpent eating its tail, the cycles of death and rebirth, the necessity of loss before growth, the descent before resurrection. It's not a coincidence that Jung's descent into the unconscious, what some called his psychotic break, produced the most spiritually charged work of his life. He didn't avoid the abyss, he documented it. And through that documentation, the Red Book, we glimpse what happens when a man lets go of the ego and walks into the fire of the soul. What emerges is not a doctrine, it is a living paradox, a flame that doesn't burn you but purifies you, a darkness that doesn't destroy you but reveals your hidden light. So what does this journey look like, practically? What does it mean to bind the above with the below? It means you stop trying to be one thing. It means you confront the many masks you wear, the identity you've been projecting to the world, so polished, so perfect, so correct, and you burn it. Jung didn't want you to become the persona. He wanted you to destroy your dependence on it. Because the persona is only a tool, a mask. It's not your face. He said, "The persona is what one is not, but what oneself and others think one is." Most people stay there, in that illusion, because it's safe. But the soul doesn't grow in safety. The soul grows when you descend into the conflict between your ideals and your instincts, between your higher aspirations and your primal cravings, between your desire to be divine and your need to be human. The soul does not live in the clean image. It lives in the mess, in the contradiction, in the place where you don't know who you are anymore. And Jung knew. That's where life begins. In the Septem Sermones ad Mortuos, Jung writes that the God of Christianity had to become human to escape the limitations of abstraction. Even God, in this vision, has to be incarnated, has to descend into flesh, into contradiction, into paradox. So, the one God became human. This is no ordinary theology, it's a spiritual physics. You can't evolve if you reject the body. You can't find the divine if you ignore the animal. And you cannot be whole without losing control. Losing control, in Jung's cosmology, isn't failure, it's initiation, a sacred undoing, the breakdown that leads to breakthrough. This is what happened to Jung himself. From 1913 to 1916, he underwent what he called a confrontation with the unconscious. Visions, voices, dreams, images, he followed them. He didn't suppress them. He recorded them. He talked to them. He let go of the I that clung to logic and entered the symbolic, the irrational, the archetypal, and instead of going mad, he became more whole. This is where Abraxas returns. Jung writes, "He is the God of the amoral. He is the one who teaches that beyond morality, There is life, real life. Not immoral, but amoral, a realm beyond black and white. Abraxas is not evil. He is the fusion of what you separate. He is your chaos and your clarity, your lust and your love, your impulse and your integrity. If you worship God and exile the devil, you fragment. If you glorify the animal and reject the divine, you fragment. But if you hold both in awareness, you step into your true nature. This is where Jung's vision overlaps with ancient alchemy. Alchemy wasn't just about turning lead into gold. It was the sacred art of transformation, of integrating opposites. The alchemists spoke of the conjunctio oppositorum, the sacred union of the opposites, fire and water, sun and moon, king and queen, spirit and body. And Jung saw the same process in the psyche. He called it individuation. Not becoming perfect, but becoming whole. Not becoming pure, but becoming real. So what can you do today to begin this process? Start with your dreams. Write them down. Don't analyze them like puzzles. Feel them. Let the symbols work on you. Start with your triggers. When you feel rage, jealousy, insecurity, don't suppress them. Ask what part of your soul is trying to speak. Start with your shame. What do you hide? What would you never tell anyone? What parts of you are unworthy of your own love? Start there. That's where your soul lives. Carl Jung didn't give us an easy path, but he gave us a real one, and when he says, as above, so below, he's not being poetic. He's describing a law of the soul, that your body is sacred, that your instincts are meaningful, that the devil you fear is often your repressed divinity. And if you're brave enough to walk into the shadow, you will meet the light that doesn't lie. You will become not a saint, not a savior, but a full human being. We have to ask ourselves, what is the soul? Jung never gave a definitive answer, because he knew the soul is not a concept. It is not a thing. It is a living process, a becoming, a symbol of totality. To Jung, the soul was a bridge between the unconscious and the conscious, the irrational and the rational, the divine and the profane. It was a psycho-spiritual compass pointing toward wholeness. And so the soul doesn't exist the way a table or chair exists. It reveals itself through dreams, through synchronicities, through art, through breakdowns and breakthroughs, through pain. And in his Red Book, particularly in the Septem Sermones ad Mortuos, Jung shows us that the soul must be earned. It must be walked toward, through paradox, through fire, through the collapse of all our false certainties. The soul does not arrive as clarity. It arrives as chaos that demands transformation. This is why Jung was so critical of religion as dogma. In Modern Man in Search of a Soul, he writes, "It is not that something is wrong with Christianity. It is that it has become too one-sided, too obsessed with the light. The shadow has been exiled. Satan is made into a cartoon. The feminine is subordinated. The body is shamed. Instinct is demonized. But the soul is none of those things. The soul is the totality." And Jung saw the price we pay when we split ourselves in two. The moment we exile our chaos, we create neurosis. The moment we repress our aggression, it comes back as violence. The moment we deny our sexuality, it returns in distorted forms. And worse, when we pretend to be only light, we secretly become possessed by the darkness we deny. This is why Jung said, over and over, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." In other words, if you want to know your soul, you must confront what you have hidden. You must descend. And in this descent you will meet symbols, images, archetypes, beings, voices. Jung met Philemon, his inner wise guide. He met Salome, a dark, feminine force. He met serpents, gods, warriors, and beasts. And he did not call them delusions. He called them the figures of the soul. To Jung, the unconscious was not a junk drawer. It was the sacred temple of transformation. The unconscious held the language of the soul. It spoke in myth, not logic, in symbols, not syllogisms. And if you dared to listen, you could become someone entirely new, but not overnight. Jung warned of inflation when someone contacts the unconscious and mistakes it for divine identity. This is the danger of spiritual ego. You begin to think, I am enlightened. I am above others. I have transcended. And in that exact moment, you fall deeper into delusion. Jung's real teaching was this: the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Not a god, not a guru, but a human who carries both heaven and hell. Let's remember, Abraxas is not here to flatter you. He is the fire that burns away your illusions. He is not asking for belief. He is asking for confrontation, to look in the mirror and say, yes, I am that. I am selfish. I am kind. I am cruel. I am generous. I am powerful. I am terrified. And none of these cancel the others out. They coexist. And the more I can hold that contradiction without collapsing into shame or superiority, the more I become real. This is the essence of individuation. Individuation is not self-improvement. It is self-actualization in the most terrifying and beautiful way. It is the moment you realize no one is coming to save you. No identity is enough. No label can contain you. And so, you must become the one who contains yourself, the one who holds your rage without letting it destroy others, the one who feels your grief without making it your identity, the one who touches your greatness without turning it into narcissism. You are the vessel, the bridge, the axis mundi between the worlds. And this is the central Jungian paradox. The self is a circle whose center is everywhere, and whose circumference is nowhere. You are the whole. But you must realize the whole, piece by piece, by walking through darkness, by surviving breakdown, by surrendering to what wants to be born inside you, even if it looks nothing like what you expected. There comes a point in the journey where words lose their edge, where theories begin to feel like shadows of a much deeper reality. And this is where Jung wanted to take us, not into ideas, but into direct experience. The Red Book is not a book of doctrine. It is not a manual. It is a revelation. Jung didn't write it to teach the world. He wrote it to survive himself, to navigate a psychic rupture so intense that it threatened to consume his sanity. This is why it speaks so powerfully. It wasn't constructed. It was lived. When Jung descended into the depths, what he called the land of the dead, he wasn't chasing knowledge. He was following the soul. And the soul didn't take him upward, it took him downward, into myth, into chaos, into the archetypes that live within all of us but speak only when we stop pretending to be sane. He writes, "You are an image of the unending world. All the last mysteries of becoming and passing lie in you. You are not some small byproduct of society. You are not the list of your achievements. You are not a label, or a role, or even a name. You are the infinite walking around in skin. You are the abyss staring into itself through eyes made of light. And the more you cling to safety, the more the soul slips away. This is why Jung urges us to confront madness, not to become insane, but to no longer fear the irrational, the formless, the mythic. Because the soul is not logical. The soul is not polite. The soul is alive. And when we begin to feel it, not just read about it, not just quote it, but feel it, everything begins to change. We begin to have dreams that disturb us. We begin to feel the pull of images we can't explain. We hear whispers from the unconscious that speak not in commands, but in symbols. This is individuation working in real time. The serpent slithering up from the basement of repression. The mother archetype appearing in a moment of despair. The warrior rising just when you thought you were broken. And Jung tells us, this is not pathology. This is transformation. In a world obsessed with control, the soul's emergence will always look like chaos. But it's the chaos of alchemy. The prima materia, the raw black matter of unconsciousness being stirred, boiled, dissolved, and reformed into something luminous. So what does it mean then to live as above, so below? It means you do not look to the heavens while despising the earth. You do not worship angels while fearing your own shadow. You do not seek transcendence by denying your body, your sexuality, your hunger, your rage. Instead, you walk with both. You let the celestial guide you, but you stay rooted in soil. You remember your dreams, but you wash the dishes. You meditate, but you also bleed. This integration is the path, not perfection, not escape, but wholeness. Jung's journey teaches us that the soul is not an escape route, it's a mirror. It reflects not only what you are, but what you could be if you dared to live all of yourself. He writes, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens." And this is the danger of modern life. We are always looking outward, for validation, for direction, for identity. But the soul does not speak through trends. It does not care what others expect. It is not interested in your status. It speaks in silence. It emerges when everything else has failed. When your strategies fall apart, your ego collapses and your image no longer saves you. Then, and only then, does the real voice emerge. It might say, "You've lived someone else's life long enough." Or, "You have ignored me for years. Now I will erupt." Or, "This relationship, this job, this persona, it is killing me." And that moment, however terrifying, is a gift, because it means the soul still lives. Carl Jung gave us a path, not a staircase into heaven, but a spiral through the chaos of the self. It is painful. It is bewildering. It is beautiful. It is the walk between the light and the dark, the human and the divine, the ego and the cosmos. And if you follow it, not with certainty but with sincerity, you will become someone new. Not better, but real. The alchemists had a phrase, "Visita interiora terrae rectificando invenias occultum lapidem." Visit the interior of the earth, and by rectifying it, you will find the hidden stone. That is the soul, not in the heavens, not in a sermon, but deep inside your own darkness, waiting to be touched. So remember, the soul does not care who you think you are. It cares only who you actually are. It does not want you to be good. It wants you to be whole. And in that wholeness, something new is born. The self, the part of you that includes it all. And in that moment, you will no longer fear hell, because you have walked through it, and you will no longer idolize heaven, because you carry its light within you, as above, so below, as within, so without, as dark, so divine, as fragmented, so forming, as broken, so becoming whole. Walk it, burn in it, and emerge radiant,